Have you ever heard of a general who won entire kingdoms back for his empire, only to be repaid with suspicion and envy? A commander who, with a handful of men, faced down armies 10 times his size and emerged victorious? Today we're diving into the incredible, almost unbelievable story of Flavius Belisarius, often called the last of the Romans. His life is a saga of loyalty, genius, and betrayal that rivals any epic. Born around 500 AD in what is now modern-day Bulgaria, Belisarius was a man of humble origins who rose through the military ranks on pure merit. His talent for strategy and leadership didn't go unnoticed. Soon he caught the eye of the ambitious new emperor, Justinian I, and his influential wife, Empress Theodora. This was the start of a partnership that would reshape the map of the Mediterranean. Belisarius's first major test came not on a foreign battlefield, but in the streets of Constantinople itself during the Nika riots of 532. The city was in flames, the emperor was about to flee, and the entire empire hung by a thread. With the palace surrounded by a furious mob, Justinian was ready to abdicate. But it was Belisarius who, with cold-blooded efficiency, led his troops into the hippodrome and quelled the rebellion. He saved Justinian's throne, proving his loyalty and his nerve in a baptism of fire. This act cemented his position as the emperor's most trusted commander. With stability restored at home, Justinian turned his gaze outward. His grand dream was the Renovatio Imperii, the restoration of the Roman Empire. His first target? The Vandal kingdom in North Africa, which had been lost for a century. In 533, Belisarius was given command of a surprisingly small expeditionary force, just 15,000 men, to reclaim an entire continent. Many in Constantinople thought it was a suicide mission. The Vandals, under their king Gelimer, were a formidable force, but Belisarius was a master of surprise and rapid movement. He landed in Africa and immediately marched on the Vandal capital Carthage. He outmaneuvered the Vandal army at the Battle of Ad Decimum, catching them completely off guard. It was a tactical masterpiece. Though outnumbered, Belisarius exploited the enemy's poor coordination. In a single decisive day, the Vandal power structure crumbled. Shortly after, at the Battle of Tricamarum, he shattered the last remnants of their army. Within months, North Africa was back under Roman rule. Belisarius returned to Constantinople a hero, granted a triumph, an honor not given to a private citizen in over 500 years. But for a man like Belisarius, there was no rest. Justinian's ambition was relentless. The next prize was Italy, the very heart of the old empire, now ruled by the Ostrogoths. Once again, Belisarius was dispatched with a shockingly small army, this time fewer than 8,000 soldiers. What followed was one of the most audacious campaigns in military history. He started by taking Sicily with barely a fight. Then he crossed into mainland Italy and began a slow, grueling advance north. He captured Naples, and then, in a move of incredible daring, he marched on Rome itself. With just 5,000 men, he occupied the ancient capital. The Goths, realizing their mistake, soon returned with a massive army of over 150,000 and laid siege to the city. For over a year, Belisarius and his tiny garrison were trapped. They were outnumbered more than 30 to 1. Every day was a desperate struggle for survival, fending off constant attacks on the city walls. Belisarius was everywhere, leading counterattacks, shoring up defenses, and rationing food. He used clever engineering and unorthodox tactics to hold back the endless Gothic tide. It was a masterclass in defensive warfare that cemented his legend. He didn't just hold Rome, he bled the Gothic army dry. Eventually, the Goths lifted the siege, their army broken. Belisarius then went on the offensive, conquering city after city, until he cornered the Gothic king, Vitiges, in the supposedly impregnable capital of Ravenna. What he couldn't take by force, he took by cunning. The Goths, desperate and admiring his skill, offered Belisarius a stunning deal: betray Justinian and become the new emperor of the West. Any other general might have been tempted, but Belisarius's loyalty was absolute. He pretended to accept the offer, only to seize Ravenna and the Gothic king in the name of Emperor Justinian. He had reconquered Italy, You'd think he'd be celebrated, right? But his very success was his undoing. Back in Constantinople, whispers of jealousy and suspicion began to poison Justinian's ear. Courtiers, envious of his fame, spun tales of his supposed ambition. They pointed to the Goths' offer of a crown as proof of his disloyalty. Justinian, ever paranoid, recalled Belisarius. He was denied a second triumph for his conquest of Italy. The hero was now a suspect. His story wasn't over. Years later, when the Persian Empire threatened the eastern frontier, who did Justinian call? Belisarius. Despite the mistrust, he answered the call, leading campaigns against the Sassanids and once again proving his strategic genius. And in his old age, when a barbarian horde of Kutrigurs threatened Constantinople itself, the retired, near-forgotten Belisarius was called upon one last time. He gathered a small force of veterans and civilians and, through brilliant strategy, routed the much larger invading army, saving the capital yet again. But what was his reward? More suspicion. He was accused of corruption, his property was confiscated, and he was placed under house arrest. Though he was eventually exonerated and his properties were restored, the damage was done. The legend that arose later, of a blind Belisarius forced to beg on the streets, is likely just that, a legend. But it speaks to a powerful truth. The empire he served so faithfully never truly trusted him. He died in 565, just months before his emperor Justinian. The story of Belisarius is a tragedy of loyalty. He was a brilliant, innovative, and humane commander who achieved the impossible time and time again. He reconquered vast territories for an empire on the brink, all while being starved of resources and undermined by political intrigue. He is a testament to the idea that genius and loyalty are not always rewarded. His life serves as a timeless lesson on the fickle nature of power and the heavy price of greatness. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you found the story of Belisarius as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from history. Let me know in the comments which historical figure you'd like to see covered next. Until then, stay curious.